Have you ever wanted to journal or keep up with a journaling practice that you've started? It is so common for us to stop journaling because it's not perfect, it's not enough, it's not what we thought it was going to be, and then just completely abandon ship. This episode is to help you reframe that mindset and hopefully get you into the pattern of journaling in a very less structured and less overwhelming way. Hello, my beautiful, gorgeous dance baby, and welcome to another episode of More Than Dance. Today, we are doing a deep dive into journaling. My theory on journaling, because I always feel like journaling has been one of those things that's been like a mind challenge. Like the act of journaling, the way I journal, the way I'm going to teach you how I journal, is not the way that I always thought that we had to journal. Like for whatever reason, I always thought like, dear diary. I always thought it had to be a certain way, journaling. And journal entries, a story about whatever happened that day, maybe like a summary or like how I felt. I always thought it had to be this certain special way that was like particular and detailed. And that's how I grew up thinking. And what I've come to realize is I'm a journaler for show. Like I journal. I don't journal that way though. I journal in a way that I feel like is accessible to me and my life. And actually, when I started journaling, it really wasn't about the Dear Diary, like today, this is what happened. It always started in the form of lists. I make lots of lists. I also don't enjoy saying the word lists in the plural. It's a lot of S's. So I would make lists and I got really comfortable knowing that I would understand what I meant when I would read that list. And it was true. Like I could read any of my lists here and I would know what I was talking about. And if I didn't, it doesn't matter. I don't need to know it anymore. I'm going to put this in right now because I don't want to forget to not get to it in a second. Whatever you write, whatever you put in there, you are going to know what it is because you're you. You wrote it. And you get to trust that whatever you put in your journal is meant to be seen or reread again for a reason. And if you understand it, you do. And that's great. And if you don't need it. You get to move along. Maybe you have fun like times like reminiscing and it's like, oh, that was cool. And you want to do that for something else that you just like, I don't understand my writing or whatever. You don't need it anymore. You don't need that part of your life anymore. If you don't have a journal practice, this is for you. If you have a practice already and you find it cumbersome and like you cannot be as consistent as you want to be with it, this is also for you. If you feel like you've never wanted to journal, but you enjoy making lists, this is for you. If you want to have moments of reflection at the end of the year, this is for you. And if you want to know more about yourself, this is for you. So I suppose I started journaling in third grade. So third grade was a pivotal year for me. And I remember receiving this notebook from my favorite teacher, Mrs. Biz. She was the best teacher ever. Like she was so nice and she was so cool. And I was in third grade. And I remember when I moved, she gave me this notebook that I still have. And she had people from the class write me letters in the notebook when I left. And I got to read them. Being the Leo that I am, I mean, this is actually like really funny. She must have known because how Leo of me to like take these letters of all the kids in the class and like read them like, Chrissy, good luck with your move. Da, 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 we'll miss you. Like that's kind of what they were. It was a third grade classroom. It wasn't anything like super, super deep. Her letter was really deep. And I just remember like that was like my little sacred notebook. Did I use that notebook for anything? I don't remember. But how I started the journaling process was being familiar with a notebook and understanding that I could read from that notebook and remember things. And it would trigger memories and moments and parts of my life that were parts I wanted to remember and parts that were sad. So that's my first memory for journaling. Other than Britney Spears, that obviously came later. She has a song called Dear Diary. Today I met a boy. Dear Diary. Today I met a boy and I wondered if he noticed me. But that was probably my next real big moment with a diary or a journal. Of course, it was Britney. Anyway, there was another moment that was really big with journaling, and it was in college. No. Oh, there was another one. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. Then there was another moment that was really big, and I really hope that kids in high school and junior high do this right now because this was cool. I also just remembered that you guys here, I'm in Rhode Island, you guys called junior high middle school, which is crazy to me, but it was junior high for us. So middle school was 5th and 6th grade. Junior high was 7th and 8th grade. So I remember we would get these notebooks, much like these that are like here. It was like assigned to our friend group or like our best friend. And may have done this like twice. And the whole front was covered in pictures, like printed out pictures. And you would take the tape and you would string it down. So it was like a laminated front cover of a notebook. And then inside you would write, you know, whatever, this book belongs to blank, blank, blah, 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 blah. And this is for blank, blank. Okay, so it was like a shared journal. And it was really sweet. The one that I'm remembering right now, there was like, I think 4 of us that belonged in this little like notebook chain. And it was kind of like the sisterhood of the traveling pants. And it was so fun. And we would each take the notebook home and we would write whatever we wanted to in the notebook. We could put stickers in it. We could have pictures printed and put those in there. We could play with markers in there. And at the end of the week, we would give it to the next friend and then they would have it for the entire week. And again, just like the clubs that we had, like, oh, you're part of this club that I was talking about in the other episode, this was similar in the fact that like it didn't last very long. It obviously is so memorable and so impactful because I thought how cool that was. And then I took that with me, that concept, and I remember bringing it to college. And my roommate and I, we had a blast with this concept. We had our dorm notebook, and in the notebook, we would write down these quotes that we would say and laugh about. We would write down texts from boys that would be so dumb. We would write down like just like little phrases of things that like, oh yeah, that happened. And I didn't realize at the time, but we were journaling. We were writing things down. We were able to reread them and we were able to process and reminisce and laugh. And I know the one that I always will remember is I would ask her like all the time, like, hey, Jan, like what's tomorrow gonna be like? And then she would always answer hot and sexy. And I'd be like, okay. And I remember the first time she ever said that, we like wrote it in and like we thought that was like the funniest thing ever. Like we were freshmen. Hot and sexy, oh my God. And so like anytime we ever asked a question similar to that, be like, oh, what do you think tomorrow's gonna be like? Oh, hot and sexy. What do you think graduation is gonna be like? Hot and sexy. What do you, like, it just became like this like really silly thing. Then we had this one night, oh my God, we'll never forget this. We went to this party and there was this guy on campus. I think we were juniors and we had to be sophomores actually because we were living with each other. And we went to this party and this guy was older than us. And we were sitting on a couch and he was in the middle and we were on either side. And I just remember he was like a good looking guy. Like he was cute. He was nice. And either of us were never really like into him. And like he never expressed that he was very like into us. Cause I think honestly, like this guy, as you'll see from this, the way the story will unfold, pretty sure he was into everybody. So all I remember is we're sitting on the couch. I think we're watching a movie. I'm pretty sure we're watching Anchorman, which is even more funny at this moment now. And I feel like someone like kind of like rubbing my shoulder, like over here. And then like, I don't know if he got up and I like looked over at Jen and I was like, Jen, he's like rubbing my shoulder. And she was like, he's rubbing mine too. And then we both like calculated how that was possible without us knowing it. And it's because he had his arms crossed like this. And he was like rubbing both of us like that. Creepy. So in our little notebook, we have like this figure of this person, like this. No words. There are no words, but this person like this, our little stick figure drawing like this. And I can look back at that and clearly remember and reminisce. She could look back at that and be like, oh, wow. So again, another way of journaling that is so not what we thought journaling was. I always thought that journaling was all about words and like just big, long, like I don't want to write all that. My hand's going to hurt. So just the fact that like we could put little quotes in there or little like stick figure drawings or little you up text, like, and then a dash. And then sometimes I remember we would read throughout the journal, the notebook, and I'd be like, remember this? And it would be like a quote from someone like our neighbor. Her name is Jen too. And she would always say these like funny things. Like, and so I'm sure like she's in there. In fact, like, yeah, like this whole episode could be just about that journal because it's so funny. So I realized, okay, well, now we're really getting somewhere. We've got journaling from little letters in 3rd grade and understanding the concept of it. Then we've got these little Pass the Notebooks, Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants notebooks of like little whatever we put in them. Then we've got this memory of like quotes and stuff from college. And then the next time I remember journaling in a different way was fast forward to after college. I played volleyball. Well, I played volleyball in high school, but then I played again. I love volleyball, so you could catch me playing that at any time. But specifically these few years I was on a league and made friends with these girls. And one of the girls, she challenged herself to 1 sentence every day for a year. And it was the first time I had heard of that concept. And I thought it was so cool. What a low pressure way to get in the habit of journaling, to be able to remember these like funny moments in your life. And then to also like share and inspire with friends to be like, oh, what, like this is my sentence of the day. And I remember seeing it at the end of the year where she completed it. She did 365 days. And I'm pretty sure she still does that to this day. Because I remember for the next 2 years, at least, she was like, I'm picking out my notebook for my sentence of the day. And so I was like, okay, well, that is cool too. Like you can journal, like that's journaling too. So just this opening concept of journaling was really helpful. And then mine, like what lasts for me is these lists. Wish I had a different way of saying that because I still don't like saying that word. So I make lists of things that I'm working on, and I check in with those lists too. So like partly I will write down like things that I did that day in like a list form. Other times I'll put down lists of things like kind of like to-do lists in a way, but they're like grander concepts. So like before I had a podcast would be something that would be on the list, and it'd be like something that I really want to do. And when I read that, I think, yeah, you do want to do that. Now, if I were to read that, like I'd say like, oh my God, you did it. You're doing it. And then other days, like when I was like frustrated or having just a different day, then I would put in like a journal entry, and it would be probably more like the Britney Spears Dear Diary. Today, blank, blank happened. This is how I feel about it. And anytime I was feeling like mad, my journal entry would be like blah 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 blah, like with like a scribble, and then it would be like, okay, like I got it out. So even that to me is a beautiful journal entry because it served its purpose. When I read that back, I'll probably laugh and be like, you're probably really upset, huh? Or I'll like the other day and this whole entire week, I've been kind of sharing like little journal entries, and I don't forget which notebook it is in right now, but I did share it. And it was me talking about how, I'm going to find it right now. Okay. I found it, and it's actually like blocked off a little bit, but it says, on April 26th, I saw Dr. McKaylee. That's my doctor. I found out that I may need to really, it probably says something like, really need to have this other surgery. I'm scared. Why? Upside down smiley face. I just blank, blank something. It's so painful. And it was more of like this is what's going on. This is how I feel about it. And probably more of like a pivotal moment. So did I write like that every day? No. And did I expect myself to? No. And that's a huge part of it, is the expectation of once you start journaling, the idea of like, well, it has to look a certain way. And my handwriting has to be a certain way. If you can throw that all out, meaning if you can relinquish that as even an idea or an expectation, you're going to find that you'll have way more consistency with journaling, which means so much more than just the fact that you have a journal. Because what journaling really leads to is so much deeper connection to yourself, whether in the form of a Britney Spears blurb, in the form of a list, in the form of a picture of a doodle, stickers or marker colors. Like you can tell a lot about yourself because you're you and you did it, and you'll remember. Certain memories will trigger other memories when you're reading it. So like I usually just get like notebooks like these, and I always find them at Marshall's and Home Goods, and I get one for every year. And if I go in, like I can find, let's just see. Okay, so this is really cool. I just flipped to a spread. So a lot of you know this, that I love like oracle decks and cards. And anytime I'm doing one of those, that becomes like a journal entry for me. So I usually like to get markers out, and I find that to be really therapeutic as well. And just like make whatever cool designs, because at the end of the day, it's like dance. You're getting a chance to express yourself. Moving markers around paper is a form of expression. Choosing colors is a form of expression. Just like when you're improving, you're choosing a move that you want to do. You're choosing something that comes from you in some way that just gets to get expressed on the floor. In this case, it gets expressed on a piece of paper. So I think I usually pull 9 cards when I do this type of thing. And then they're all animals, because that animal deck is one of my favorite. I can't say favorite because I have to really sit on that, but it's a very special one. And it was my first ever deck. Actually, Josh, will you get it so I can show them? It's over there. It's Animal Spirit. So it's this deck. And I actually heard about this deck for the first time from one of my friends. And she told me about it because she had like a crazy experience with it. And I remember exactly where I was, where I ordered it. And we were having dinner together. I think, Josh, you were with me, right? And then I just remember saying like, okay, I'm going to order it. Like, I'm convinced, say less. And I remember I like went home and it was like on my doorstep. It was wild. Like, it was how? It was already there. It was like nuts. So, well, I guess I'm pulling a card for us. It's just like funny, like what your hands will automatically do. But I was just going to show you these, but I guess I just went into. So this is the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit Guidebook. So this is Kim Cran's. She's beautiful decks. Yeah, let's just pull a card just to see what we get together. I'm just channeling great energy for the start of your new year. I'm channeling consistency for you. And I'm channeling something that you need to hear. And I give a couple different options just in the case that you're listening to this not in the new year. And you just happen to stumble upon it. Okay, this is the one. It just felt right. Ooh, the fish. Okay, let's find out about the fish. So again, I'm going to read directly from this book. This is what it looks like. Okay, if you're just listening, then go ahead and keep listening. If you want to see what that looks like, you could probably look it up later. So the fish. Okay, fish. The fish loves to be subsumed in life's current. Nothing pleases it more than movement, and more movement. I mean, like, I love this. I love movement. I love dance. The roaming lifestyle of the fish may be exhilarating for a while, but usually leads to wariness and slippery relationships. With all the possibilities out there in the vast waters, the fish becomes lost without clear goals and intentions. Spend some time with the lunar forces, dear fish, as the peace and calm of the moon will soothe your soul. So when in balance, you're adaptable and travels well, and when you're out of balance, you're distracted, changes mind often. And then how to bring into balance, set a small goal and accomplish it. I find this to be very interesting that this came up right now, because all these episodes that we're doing have so much to do with setting small goals, specifically small goals. And don't you find that a little interesting? I mean, that is great that came up for us, because, I mean, it's one thing that I'm telling you and talking to you about this, but it's another thing when like the universe comes down and says, yes, this part too, like distracted changes mind often. That's so something that a journal can help you with. So when you think about journaling, I want you to think about it as less about writing something beautiful and more about having an opportunity to listen to yourself. Sometimes journaling can feel so hard because you're waiting for the right thing to say. You might be like, oh, my day was pretty bland. Like there was nothing in there. Well, then I invite you to think about things that you want in your life, things you want to bring into your life, and start plotting and start planning. Start thinking about the be, do, have mentality and being in that energy. Episode 27. I think I remembered it this time. Thinking is deep. And when you're journaling, we think it has to be so deep. It doesn't. It can be very surface. And your processing of it later can be what's deep. And for my perfectionists out there, that's another reason why it might be very hard to journal, because you think it might need to be perfect. And as you see, it doesn't. But wouldn't you rather have 10 years of beautiful processing and awareness versus none because of fear of it not being perfect? I know I would. I find so much value in this practice that I would rather it be the way it is, which is just like sometimes just a word like I just showed you on a sheet, but it's something so big. It's fueling into the big picture. It's as if we had zoomed out, which is funny because there was a big word that said zoom out in there. It's fun to start seeing all the beautiful themes of yourself. When I peel back and I think like, oh, that's something that I was really working on like 5 years ago. How cool. That's still so prevalent in my life. We already talked about this a few times, but when you can name your emotion, you have a better chance at responding to it quickly. Meaning, if you can name your feeling and call it what it is, you can process through that feeling in a more efficient way. So having a journal is very helpful for that. In the episode on overwhelm, which I don't remember what episode that is, I talked about Mel Robbins and how if you can brain dump everything in your head and just put it on paper, you have more of an ability to actually take that stuff and put it into work. So sometimes there's just a bunch of stuff inside of our heads that just, we think it needs to be there, but really it doesn't. So if you make a list, a brain dump, any type of thing, and put it in your journal, it'll be there just in the case that you need to reference it. And also you might find like only 3 of those things are actually important things. You might be circling around something in your head that is actually harmful to you. And what I mean by that is you could be replaying an event that happened that you felt awkward about and replaying it and feeling weird about it again. Then feeling weird about it again is because you lived it 3 times now instead of just once. So when you have a journal, you can write that through and just say like, weird moment, I felt awkward, this is where I was. Your mind's going to fill in the blanks and know exactly what you're talking about. And then when you go to process it again, you can go right back to that same page maybe, or you can just think about it and be like, yeah, okay, that's right. I did work some of this out versus living through the details once again. So there's also bullet journaling. Now, I've heard about this. I've seen this. I think it's beautiful. I think it's so cool. I have not personally done that yet, but you can look it up. That could be a very unique way for you to journal. And another reason why journaling is so amazing is because it can really help with your dance journey. At the studio, we do this thing called showcase at the end of class where we have a moment to showcase what we just learned. And oftentimes, at first, people are like, ooh, they're a little hesitant because they're like, ooh, I don't want to put that on the camera because I'm not ready for the camera and I'm not good enough yet. It's a journal. It's a journal of your progress. It's a journal of your dance progress. You get a chance to look and watch yourself grow as a dancer when you look at videos. That is very much a journal. It's a visual journal. And to that note, if you do want to journal about dance, I think that's a fabulous idea. I did start doing this at one point where I would write down like, class tonight, loved this. And in a way, we do this when we do our little circle time at the end. We journal aloud, basically. We're saying our name and our highlight and our success. And I think about those too. And sometimes like there's just really special nights where the night is just extra funny or the choreography was more meaningful to me in some sort of way. And when I watch the video, I can remember that. Or if I did happen to journal about it, just say like a couple words like tonight, awesome, tonight, lit. Like I will remember like, oh, that was that night. This episode is all about just opening your mind to the idea of journaling in any way, any notebook, different forms, video journaling, using stick figures, using notes, taking pictures is a form of journaling. And to remind you that your journal can be messy, it can be repetitive, it can be honest, boring, it can be emotional, it can be just a to-do list. The point is that you're getting closer with yourself and you're understanding yourself at a deeper level. And if you do want to have just some questions to go to, like some go-to questions, you could say, what was my highlight of the day? What was my win of the day? What felt really hard? What do I feel grateful for? And then move along. I think what's nice sometimes is just allowing things to be over. Like, okay, that's done. Like, check, moving on. It doesn't have to be so thorough. We don't have to have full sentences. So I hope this was able to change your view of journaling and perhaps make it a little less daunting to start your journaling journey. And then to also have a little bit more fun with it if you already do it. So thank you so much for listening. And it would mean the world to me if you shared this with a friend or on your social media, as it's one of the best ways to spread the word about this podcast. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the dance floor.